I remember the day they laughed at me like it was yesterday. I was just a girl then, full of fire and stubborn hope, standing in the middle of our cramped living room, clutching my sketchpad. I told them I wanted to become a fashion designer, something I knew in my bones I was born to do. But instead of support, I got sneers and dismissive shakes of their heads. "You're dreaming too big," my mother said, voice dripping with condescension. "Fashion? That's a joke. You'll never make it. It's a stupid hobby, not a real career. You're embarrassing us, wasting your time on nonsense." My father scoffed, turning away. "You should focus on something practical, like becoming a nurse or a teacher, not some foolish artist with wild ideas. You're just a little girl with a pipe dream." They mocked me relentlessly. My siblings joined in, calling my aspirations ridiculous, saying I'd never amount to anything. Every word felt like a blow to my chest, like they were trying to crush the fire inside me before it could truly ignite. But even in that moment, something inside me refused to die. I packed my bag that night, tears blurring my vision, and left. I was only 17 then, but I knew I had to leave if I ever wanted to prove them wrong. I moved to a city full of hopes and heartbreak, chasing a dream that many told me was impossible. I slept on couches, worked multiple jobs, waitressing by day, sewing by night. I faced rejection after rejection, criticism from industry insiders who told me my designs were too bold, too different, or not marketable. I was told I'd never succeed, that I was too naive, too stubborn, too stupid to make it. But I kept going. I poured every ounce of my soul into my work. I studied fashion, learned from failures, and refused to give up. Slowly, the pieces I created gained recognition. First, a small boutique in a forgotten corner of the city, then local fashion shows, then a breakthrough moment, my first runway show that caught eyes beyond my little world. It was a long, brutal climb, but I proved to myself and everyone else that I could turn my passion into something real. Years later, I stood on the cusp of success. My designs gracing magazines, my name on billboards, my brand expanding beyond what I'd ever dared to dream. I was finally the woman I'd fought so hard to become. And now, I was returning home, not as the broken girl they had mocked, but as someone who had shattered every expectation they had ever placed on me. The day I decided to go back was quiet, almost like an act of defiance. I hadn't spoken to my family in months, years, even. I wanted them to see what I'd become without their doubts echoing in my ears. I wanted them to see that I had built a life from nothing but my own grit and fire. When I arrived, the house looked the same, small, worn, aging with the years. But to me, it was a cage I'd finally outgrown. I walked in, my heels clicking confidently on the cracked wooden floor, my designer bag slung over my shoulder. I could feel their eyes on me, a mixture of curiosity and skepticism. My father looked up from his newspaper, eyebrows raised in disbelief. "Is that you?" he asked, voice trembling slightly. I nodded, a small, confident smile curling my lips. "It's me. I've come to see how you're doing." My mother's face softened, but her eyes still held that familiar hint of judgment. "You look different." "Good different," I replied. "I've done well, better than I ever imagined. And I came back to show you what's possible when you stop doubting yourself and others." The evening unfolded in a tense silence until finally I decided to show them. I led them to my car, revealing the sleek, custom-designed dress I'd been working on, one I'd just finished for an upcoming fashion show. I watched their faces as they took it in, the disbelief gradually giving way to awe. Then I took a deep breath and made my way to the backyard, where we used to play as children. I had prepared a surprise, a small outdoor runway, lit by fairy lights, with a few of my latest designs arranged on mannequins. I wanted them to see the results of my journey. As I stepped onto the makeshift runway, I felt the weight of every rejection, every cruel word, every moment I wanted to give up. I looked back at my family, standing at the edge of the yard, eyes wide with shock. I felt their gaze like a spotlight, exposing the gap between who they thought I was and who I had become. I took a breath, feeling the rush of adrenaline and pride. I walked with purpose, each step echoing the years of struggle, sacrifice, and unwavering belief in myself. When I reached the end, I turned to face them, and for a moment, silence reigned. Then my father, voice thick with emotion, finally spoke. "We were wrong. You've done something incredible." My mother's eyes glistened, and she stepped closer, reaching out to touch my arm. We never saw this coming. We were blind. I looked at them, my family who had once dismissed my dreams as foolish, and I realized that their doubt was just a reflection of their own fears. But I was no longer that girl. I was someone who had fought every odds, who had turned rejection into resilience. In that quiet, powerful moment, I knew I had won. Not just in the eyes of the world, but in the eyes of those who had once rejected me. I had built a life rooted in passion, perseverance, and truth. And I had returned not to seek validation, but to show them that dreams, real dreams, are worth fighting for, no matter how ridiculous they seem. As I turned and walked away, I felt a profound sense of peace. I had proven that the greatest victory is not just success, but the courage to keep going when everyone else gives up. And in that victory, I found my redemption.